I want to talk about this case of this young man who was so ashamed of himself, he couldn't bring himself to talk about the trauma that he experienced in the military. At the beginning of the interview, he was like, I don't want to talk about it, you can just scratch that off. And then I encouraged him to get it off his chest, but obviously gently and not forceful, of course. He was really disturbed by it. He hasn't showered in a month, and I asked him, why is that? And he didn't want to talk about it at one point, but later he revealed that it reminds him of that event. So I asked him, did something happen in the shower? And he said, no, it wasn't that. Anyway, so then I administered an inventory, and he obviously scored pretty high on a PTSD scale. And I told him that he scored high on trauma and that it would behoove him to find a counselor, a therapist that he can feel comfortable with, and he can talk about what happened to him. So as the interview or evaluation rather went forward, he eventually said, okay, I'll tell you. And he told me in a few words, and I said, you don't have to go into graphic details, of course, but just tell me where, when, and just the gist of what happened. And he went on to say that it was on a ship where he was at, and in the middle of the night someone grabbed him and he didn't get to see who it was, because as soon as he moved, the person ran away, and he went into the shower and to wash himself, and that's why he went to the shower. And then he said it's the first time he ever told anyone that. And this was in 22, so it was 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Today. Just over 2 years ago. And so he felt so disgusted with himself that he obviously, if he had to clean himself, then obviously he climaxed, and he found it disgusting and disturbing, so much so that it changed his whole perception on his life, his whole relationship with himself, and the self-loathing. That's what's so profound, the self-loathing that he's carrying, that's affecting his relationships and is affecting his ability to function and ability to grow and ability to relate to other people. That event, and that wasn't even his fault. He's a victim of assault. And so the assault itself is still happening in his mind. It's not something that he can overcome. But what's so interesting and sad is the how ashamed he is of himself. He's carrying it on himself. That it's his fault, and he's so disgusted with himself, and he's a failure because of that. He doesn't deserve anything because of that. He doesn't deserve to grow. His whole self-value, his whole self-worth is so damaged by this event, by this assault. That's the crime, of course, that someone commits. But he needs to realize that crime he gives it weight if he doesn't overcome that. He doesn't find empowered by this event somehow, that he's not disgusting and he shouldn't be embarrassed, and he needs to analyze what it is, why he's so disgusted, why he's so embarrassed by it. Of course, it was something so challenging to his value system. Didn't value an event like that, didn't value, obviously. Well, it's interesting because it doesn't value that challenge his value system, but the weight that this event has is valuable. So it's just sad. I wanted to express that, the work that he needs to do is to put it in a little box and not have it affect him ultimately. And somehow every time it comes back to his mind, when he recollects this story, this obviously part of his narrative, his life, that he finds wisdom in it and power in it and relief from it. Not to be a slave to it, but to be free from being tormented by it. But he finds his self-worth. He's bigger than that. At this moment, the present is bigger than that. an illegitimate experience. It's a dot in the ocean of time, beyond a dot, as we go forward, as he goes forward in his life, it becomes more and more insignificant, however significant enough to have created an opportunity for tremendous growth and wisdom. That's where he needs to come to. But I guess the point of this video is the level of damage that people can do to one another, and people suffer so greatly because of it and struggle to find redemption. But redemption's there, salvation's there. It's close, it's so close by. And a good coach will help someone find themselves, that part of themselves that is so much more beyond that. It's a part of themselves that is gifted and worthy and valuable, and not events of the past. Those don't define us. What defines us is where we're going, our goals. So that's the video for today.